Welcome into Boxing Scene Today Live. That's right. So much news to get to, not just inside the ring, but outside the ring as well. Well, Lamont Roach Jr., you know him, a staple here on ProBox TV. A couple draws in a row that have elevated his profile. But now, get another shot fighting for a title. The WBC has mandated that he will fight William Zepeda. Excellent fighter, great fight, but alongside the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, we get to throw around and discuss first thing, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the fight, not getting a rematch with either guy. Of course, a draw with Gervonta Davis. We know that isn't going to happen anytime soon. And then after that, of course, it was Pitbull. And this idea that, unfortunately, gentlemen, he's going to be getting a title opportunity again, but it won't be a rematch with either fighter that he got a draw with. So, Chris, in terms of step up, step down, the excitement level, before we get into nuts and bolts, what's your thought on this instead of any of the rematches?
Just the fight alone, I mean, it's a good fight.
Yeah.
I think the level is being maintained where Roach is staying in big fights, coming off the tail of the Pitbull Cruz fight, the Gervonta Davis fight. This is still a high-level opponent in Zapeda, obviously coming off the Shakur loss, but he's still...
so he's coming off the Shakur loss and getting a title fight for a vacant title.
Yes.
Vacant.
Love the never upstanding the rules. Love that.
So, I mean, that rule is apparently gone.
Obsolete, yeah. Everybody gets title shots coming off losses
rule,
now. Yeah.
At least in terms of...
It's been changed. But somebody announced that it's been changed, and we just find out it's been changed just because guys coming off losses constantly getting title shots.
So I guess it is.
Oh, that's
the wild, wild west that is boxing. But in terms of the fight itself, I actually like the fight. I think even stylistically, I think it's a good fight. You've got Roach, who's got that Lamont Roach, who's got that DMV style. He's a good counter puncher. Has shown himself to be extremely capable at the world class level. You got Zapeda, who has shown himself to be extremely capable. But also comes forward, throws a lot of punches. I think stylistically, strategically, it's a fun fight. And in terms of how much does it matter, it does matter because Zapeda is one of the top dogs at 135, even though he's coming off a loss. Roach coming off of two very well-known, well-publicized draws. It's still a high-level fight, and Roach gets another shot at a title fight in a weight class where he fought Gervonta, but also a step down from his last title attempt. But Roach is meritocracy still works because Roach is performing well and still getting opportunities, which is good to see. But I think in terms of the fight, it's a good fight.
I don't know if it's a step down. I don't know if Davis would have beat Zapeda. He didn't fight anybody near these levels to begin with, right?
No, I said step down in terms of the weight. Back from 40 back down to 135. 35.
Okay, yeah, 35. Because Shakur's old title, yeah.
It is at 35.
Shakur's old title. So this is where the controversy of Shakur being stripped and now was vacant, and so this is where the WBC lightweight title goes now. Okay.
But does this also tell us if Shakur's not coming back down to 35?
Unless he wants a title back. Right? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of options for Shakur Stevenson. He's sort of become the jewel of those weights, right?
Yeah,
so
those weights, yeah.
He can sort of make his own way at this point and probably be favored no matter which direction he goes. That's how good he is. But in the meantime, I do like this fight. It's stylistically. I don't like the politics of it. I wish guys would hold up that rule of not being able to fight for a title, even though it's constantly happening. But yeah, it's not the worst fight in the world. Roach and Zapeda. Funny enough, not only is Zapeda coming off a loss, but Roach coming off 2 draws. Right. Nobody's coming off any wins here.
Yeah.
Going into the title fight, But,
4 different weight classes in 4 world title fights, by the way, for Lamont Roach.
30, 35, 40,
back down to 35. Yeah.
So the Pitbull fight was a world title fight?
That was 140 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but it wasn't a title fight, was it?
Yes, it was. That's 3 in a row for him.
That was a world title fight?
3 world title fights without a loss in 3 different weight classes. Now it's 4.
Which title was the Pitbull fight?
Let me look it up.
The WBA interim?
All right, with these interims.
So,
All right, yeah.
Yeah, very good, Chris. Thank you.
The interim.
I believe so.
But when you look
I sometimes forget. Sometimes we have to count these interim titles.
Sometimes you got to count.
In my mind, they're not titles. All right,
sometimes
guys.
you do.
I don't know how you guys feel.
I will say this though: there's so much movement in those weight classes. Interim titles turn into real titles very quickly.
Real fast.
No, they're supposed to, but instead, guys stay interim champion for 2 years, and they just collect sanctioning fees from both the real champion and the interim champion. That's supposed to turn into real title.
How many guys at 35 have been upped based off of interims? It's been
Gervonta Davis.
Gervonta Davis, and then there was others too. Might have been, was Zapeda upped?
No, was it? No. Zapeda wasn't WBC lightweight champion. That was a vacant title fight, I think, with Shakur and Zapeda. Because when Haney left the weight class, all those titles became vacant, remember?
That's right.
Haney was undisputed lightweight champion.
How much pressure right now is on Lamont Roach? You called it perfectly, Christopher. High-profile draws, but draws nonetheless. This idea that those were obviously Isaac Pitbull, Cruz, and then Gervonta Davis. Big underdog against Gervonta Davis. The favorite against Pitbull, Cruz. But how badly does he need to break out with a win with a great year, but without a win to go with it? What's the pressure on him, Chris?
No, he needs a win. He needs a win, and he needs a title. He sees himself as world class and a world champion, and I think he's deservedly so in his past performances. But yeah, you can't just keep getting draws and staying status quo. So he's got to get over that hump. Zapeda's not an easy guy to get over, though. So this is another tough opportunity for Roach.
All right, so devil's advocate though, how much of a high is Zapeda? He did in looking back now, especially the way Shakur looked against Teofimo. He looked pretty good against Shakur.
Decent fight
in terms of competitive. He still wasn't competitive, but compared to everybody else, he was competitive, right? But the 2 fights before that, he was a farmer, and he looked pretty bad in the first farmer fight.
Yep.
And what kind of a level is Zapeda on that he's in this title fight? Is this a big opportunity for Roach, despite the styles being difficult because you're going to be both pocket fighters? Is it a big opportunity for Roach that he has to win this fight? Because I don't know that Zapeda's at his highest level anymore either.
Certainly not
in
at
terms
the
of
level.
Way that he's looked.
But I think,
three.
Champ, you just made the point. Like in hindsight, the loss to Shakur is way
Looks
more
better.
acceptable, and it's like,
but he still got dominated.
Yeah, but it's Shakur. Everyone gets dominated.
Yeah, but what about the farmer fight? The farmer came back and got knocked out in a round by Schofield after that rivalry with Zapeda. So yeah, I feel like Roach, the stage is set. Not easy, but the stage is set for him. He's got to come through this one if he's going to live up to this expectation. Now he's done a good job last year. This is and no title fight is supposed to be that easy, so it's not easy. But at the same time, this is a moment for him where he can really come around here and
You think betting line he'll be the favorite?
You know what? I think so. I think maybe slightly.
I think he'd certainly be the favorite amongst experts. I'm not sure if Vegas does.
It's a tough fight to call.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not either way. I wouldn't bet it.
I'm looking to see if there are odds here right now.
Maybe a distance.
I would, distance would be good. Oh, now you're getting into your
into
betting
the woods.
Advice. That's a whole different show, guys. Don't tune into that one later.
No odds yet on it, but what I'm curious that I can find, what I'm curious about is Chris, is it fair to say Zapeda, in the eyes of at least the casual fans, is maybe a level below Isaac Pitbull, Cruz, and certainly Gervonta Davis, to the point where does Roach have to shine and look good, look like he's above that level? Is that how a lot of fans are going to see this, or no?
Well, Zapeda's, relative to those other fighters that you mentioned, it's more about what are his big wins compared to those guys' big wins. And in terms of profile, I think he has a big profile, especially with the Mexican fan base, but not as big as Cruz, because Cruz was like rocking and rolling. But Mexican fans love Cruz because of his style. But Zepeda's got a similar style too. Not as hard of a puncher, but throws a ton of punches, is in your face all night long. Makes for entertaining fights for sure. So I think maybe a little less shine than the Cruz fight, but not out of the ballpark by any means.
When you look at it, the X factor here that we have not gone over is during the Isaac Pitbull Cruz fight, broke his hand, had to fight with the back half of that fight with a broken hand. Actually boxed extremely well, better one-handed than he did two-handed. But Chris, Paulie, both you guys have had hand injuries. You've had multiple hand surgeries. When you look at it, Paulie, is the recovery and how he looks, is that something to be watching? We had similar questions about it with Shakur Stevenson, yes?
Yeah, because you have a surgery on your hand. You're not coming back to do regular work on it. You're punching with it. So it's got to be good. It's got to be, obviously, operated on. Then you got to go to therapy. And you got to be able to hit with it consistently in training so that you can prepare adequately for a fight. So there's a few steps that have to be gone through. When was the fight with Pitbull? Was it December?
December.
And when is this fight signed for?
Let's see. The
Timelines.
fight's been ordered. I don't think there's a timeline on it.
I always say this on hand injuries and recovery. Timeline's always fluid. And Champ, I'm sure you would agree, because re-injuries, even minor ones, happen during
30
camps.
days to reach term, so we should know in the next
Okay,
month.
so we got time.
Then the 30 to reach term, and then there's a date allowed. Yeah, I mean, by the time that fight actually happens, I think he'll have had time to know if the hand is good or not, and you'll be going. It's enough time for it to get healthy if it's done right.
But if it's not 100%, do you still fight? Yes.
Hello, Chris doesn't wait for an answer. Yeah,
Yes.
Is there pressure on Lamont Roach, compromised or not, to get out there and get a win after 2 draws?
You don't want to lose the opportunity. They don't. I mean, granted, Roach has been getting a lot of opportunities as of late, but even there was a big gap between him getting the Cruz fight and the first Gervonta fight. Gervonta fight was in March. The Cruz fight was in December. He wanted to fight long before that. He thought he was getting a rematch with Gervonta in between that time. So yeah, you want to miss opportunities because it seems like if Roach is not willing, does Zapeda then campaign to try and get a different fight to stay busy, while he is recovering? I don't know. It's one of those things where the opportunities, yes, Roach has gotten a bunch lately, but it's hard to pass them up because they're usually few and far between. And how many chances is Roach going to get?
Right? Yeah, at this age, you don't want any opportunities to pass you by.
Yeah.
The idea that as we just said, compromised or not, he may have to fight anyway. When are we going to know in the fight? Is there any way to know in camp? Is there any way to know ahead of time if he's okay from anything you're seeing? Or is it the kind of thing where we won't know if his hand's good until he has to crack in an actual fight and then we'll know? Paulie, tell me.
Yeah, I mean...
It was hard to tell in the Cruz fight.
Yeah, it was hard to tell in the Cruz fight.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Cruz is so bad against back foot counterpunchers, that it's almost like it benefited Roach to hurt his hand because I felt like he started fighting better. He started getting on the back foot, countering and using some of those backward punches. With Zapeda, obviously Zapeda also, these kind of fighters will have trouble with back foot counterpunchers, but I think Zapeda may be a little bit more, have a couple more layers to his style than does Pitbull. So you're gonna need those hands to be healthy, I think, in order to get by Zapeda. I assume whatever Zapeda has left, he's gonna be hungry to prove himself because he's not coming off the best of performances lately as well. Like I said, the two Farmer fights and the Shakur Stevenson fight. He needs a rebound performance as well to really reestablish himself among the elite of the weight class.
When you look stylistically at it, Chris, and the nuts and bolts of this fight, do you think it might look like the second half of the Isaac Pitbull Cruz fight where Zapeda is the aggressor and Lamont Roach is going to be doing his counterboxing style, as you said, heavy on the back foot? How do you see this fight going as far as the nuts and bolts of it?
I think it looks like the Tevin Farmer fights. I think Roach has enough ability to adjust at range. I think he probably hits a little bit harder than Tevin, and at this stage he's fresher based on age. Tevin was a little older when he had those fights, but Tevin showed enough slickness, enough sharp skill that I think Roach possesses that it could look a lot like that. Because even in those fights early on, Zapeda was pouring on the pressure and Tevin was in the pocket, getting caught with a bunch of shots but finding holes and finding openings. So I do think this is a high contact fight, and we've said this about Roach. He is a high contact guy. He stays in the pocket. He's not going to be circling around the ring, getting away from you. He's not like Shakur in that way that he's not going to completely shut you off. There's going to be exchanges. So I think early on we could see something very similar to the Tevin Farmer fights, and then it's going to come down to, can Roach get the respect from Zapeda the way Tevin did? Tevin dropped him, so Tevin was able to crack him with shots that made him think twice.
Yeah, see them.
Yeah, he didn't see them. Those shots you don't see are the ones that hurt you the most. So I think stylistically it's an excellent fight, and it could be a lot of fun for both men.
Do you think, Paulie, that Lamont Roach could be a breakout star with the win? He was right there with Gervonta Davis, got a controversial draw. We know about the phantom knockdown in that fight. This idea that he could be right there if he can just get that signature win after two high-profile draws.
I think, listen, it'll be great for him. It'll be great for him to get the win, become a two-division world champion. It'll continue to allow him to establish himself at world-class level in and around these weight classes. I think a star is a bit of a stretch. You're beating William Zepeda, who, again, is not coming off of the hottest streak, but he certainly continues to establish himself, as he did already in 2025, among the best fighters in these weight classes and remains in the running for all the big fights, especially as a world champion.
When I look at Lamont Roach and what we've seen out of him so far, at 135, you got Raymond Murataya, you got Jadir Herrera, you have Abdullah Mason, WBO. With all the names out there, is it smart to stay at 35? Just coming back down from 140 pounds, is it smart to stay at 35, take on one of those champions, try to unify Chris? What would be his next step, or the step for the winner, whatever it might be?
I think ultimately Roach belongs at 35. I think that's the weight class where I don't foresee him being able to make 30 anymore. I know, Champ, we spoke about him potentially going back down to 30 and trying to get those fights. I don't know if that's a possibility anymore at this stage and his age and fighting in higher weight classes. 140, he just didn't look the size for it. And Cruz is not a big 40 pounder, so it made more sense for him to go up and try and pick that title off and then look for bigger fights. But with the draw, he's kind of in a limbo a little bit because he doesn't have a title in that weight class. And I don't know if the other 40-pounders are the kind of guys he's looking to fight right now, and especially if you have an opportunity for a title at 35. But I think 35 is a lot of young, hungry guys, and Roach could kind of be the quote unquote the old head up there. He could be the guy to beat because he's got more I think maturity. I think he's come into his own recently. So I like him at 35, and I like this fight.
Skill-wise, when you look at what the other guys bring at 135 pounds, could Lamont Roach be the guy at 135? When you look at Abdullah Mason, when you look at the other fighters,
he's good.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's guys like. Even guys who aren't champions like Andy Cruz will be a tough fight though. You know, Murtai I think is not going to last that long. Abdullah Mason keeps ascending. He's going to be very, very good. Even the guy Abdullah beaten Oaks is still a viable contender who can fight and can punch. There's just no shortage of good opponents that can make fun fights with Roach. One thing about Roach is his fights typically entertain. He's got a good fan-friendly style, so I think you wouldn't mind seeing him against just about anybody.
Obviously, when we talk about titles, you talk about, of course, the WBC title being vacant, lightweight belt we just spoke about. Jai Opetaia has to make a decision. According to the IBF, he will be stripped if he fights for the Zuffa title this weekend. And Zuffa has said over and over they're not recognizing other titles except their own. This idea that we know camps are being made between the Zuffa faction, maybe everybody else, and that everybody else is including the traditional titles, right? WBO, IBF, WBC. Jai Opetaia is the first line in the sand for this, that if you fight for that title, you don't fight for this one. First off, before we even start about what his decision might be, the idea that the IBF is saying it's us or them, Chris, no surprise to you, huh?
No, from the IBF, they stick to their guns, and they're one of the governing bodies that will stick to the ethics of their rule set. They will strip guys, they will enforce things, they will declare mandatories at the fight, and right here, they're really drawing a line in the sand.
They were the only ones that the balls to strip Canelo.
Exactly, that's exactly my point. They're the only ones who have consistently stuck by their rule set, so I'm not surprised it's coming from them. I'm just surprised because it's a very bold move. You're going against, it's the old guard versus the new world order, and they're drawing a line in the sand.
What's the surprise though? The Zuffa title is basically like the IBO, the IBA. Like
because
nobody cares about those belts, just like nobody's gonna care about this title. Like it's the same thing. Like they're being treated just like all the other secondary world titles have always been treated.
But it's different because no one's ever gone against the IBO and be like, oh, if you fight for the IBO, you can't fight for ours. They've allowed them to have both.
They've allowed them to have both. Yeah, but the IBO also didn't draw a line in the sand and say, okay, you can't unify. Well, typically, sanctioning bodies will allow unification. That's the way it goes. So
the war has been declared. The shots were fired already.
So if nobody was doing that, so of course you're going to allow unifications and all that other stuff. It's part of the game. It's part of the business. This is... also the IBO and the IBC and all those small WBF, whatever those small weight classes.
NABO.
Those small, the NABO is continental.
That's continental.
But any of those smaller world title factions, they would never have the balls to say, "Oh, you can't unify with a major world title." They actually wanted to be aligned with a major world title so that it legitimized the champions they had. They didn't want secondary champions that weren't getting also the major titles, because aligning them with the major titles allowed them to become legitimate. Like the WBO, when it started becoming a big deal, it was a big deal in Europe at first, but then little by little it bled into North America. You started seeing unifications with Nassim Hamed, with Cesar Soto, WBC, WBO unification, or Tom Johnson getting the IBF title and then unifying with his WBO title. And little by little they sort of bled into the mainstream of the world titles. With Zuffa, it's different. They're drawing a line in the sand, so you're basically going to get treated like a stepchild of the sanctioning bodies, and so the major ones are going to be like, no, dude, you can't play with us. And so, I'm not shocked here. Opetaia's under contract with Zuffa, so he's going to get stripped of the IBF title. I don't see how that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's not really a choice to be made. He knew this signing up, that he would probably have to be excised from the other titles, and that's a choice he's willing to make for the money or the exposure, being with Zuffa. So, Chris, they're saying it's a choice, not really a choice. He made that choice when he signed up in the first place.
Maybe because there was no cruiserweight division in the original rule set of Zuffa. There wasn't going to be a cruiserweight, and they made a concession for a big signing with Opetaia. And then I believe they even came out and said, no, Opetaia is going to be allowed to fight for other titles. Wasn't that a messaging?
Originally, yes.
So the messaging is very muddled. Yeah. It's very muddled.
But by that point, the IBF was like, nah, you guys are out of the circle of trust.
Right. Well, they already, like I said, the war had been declared, and the IBF is sticking to their guns.
Yeah, but the question is that managerially, Paulie, if you're Jai Opetaia, one of the issues is, hey, if we sign this deal and we go with Zuffa, we might be excised. It was at least a possibility in the beginning that you might have to choose a side, and this is the side you're going to be on.
Yeah, I mean, based on the way everything looked from the outside looking in,
yes,
it was kind of known to everybody already, even before he signed that. So I don't know what kind of inner conversations he had, but from the outside looking in, yeah, this was already known based on the way Zuffa had made their announcement and the way they had said they were going to go about their business. So from the way it looked to the outside, when Jai signed this deal, we kind of already knew, okay, well, it looks like his IBF title is probably going to go soon, because there's no way he's going to be allowed to bring it together, regardless of anything else that might have happened behind closed doors in that conversation. With Opetaia, again, he's the best cruiserweight in the world. I think, anybody would be hard pressed to pick against him against anybody. But, the way.
But don't you think he needs to fight Zurdo? Or he needed to before this
he would have beat him, though. I mean,
he would have, but you want to see number one and number two.
Of course you would have. But the way, I don't know. Again, I was in Australia, and I was told that he doesn't sell well. And then from what I heard, the team Opetaia was angry at me for saying that he wouldn't sell well. But then Eddie Hearn comes out. Eddie Hearn comes out and says, "Buddy, I tried to promote this guy. He doesn't sell 2 tickets." So I don't understand why they want from me for speaking the truth. Like I'm just here. Don't kill the messenger, dude. You know what I mean? Like you know what you sell. Like you can't pretend you are what you're not. What he is a world-class fighter. He is a world-class fighter. But the fact that the Zuffa signing made sense to me based on what I had heard in Australia, that okay, they have a hard time moving him, have a hard time marketing him, so he should be making more money based on how good he is, and maybe Zuffa was the way that he could get more notoriety, So the Zuffa, once I had heard that, I would have been shocked if I didn't go to Australia and heard about the Zuffa deal, because I'd have been like, man, a big name like this, a big name player like this is going to sign with Zuffa. That doesn't make sense to me. But based on the fact that I had been in Australia and they have a hard time moving him, despite how great he really is as a fighter, it made sense to me that he would sign with Zuffa. Okay? Maybe because you try your hand at a different angle as far as getting notoriety. This kid does deserve a lot of notoriety based on how good he is. So you make that move. There's pros and cons to every decision you make, and based on the circumstances, this was there were more pros than cons in terms of Team Opetaia decision to go with Zuffa. But some of the cons are, you probably were going to have to vacate your IBF title. This is probably something they had to know before that, because Zuffa had kind of made it clear even before signing Opetaia what their outlook was in terms of the way they regarded the sanctioning bodies. So this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody based on the way Zuffa was talking even before Opetaia signed with them. So I think, if I'm using logic, I think Opetaia and his team probably already knew that the IBF title was going to have to go up in flames, the IBF title that he held, because there was no way he was going to be able to hold it and also sign a Zuffa contract. But there may have been more pros and cons in signing with Zuffa, so they went that route. And there may still be more pros and cons. Who knows? We'll see how Jai's career goes from here.
Yeah, is this, and I was about to ask that, Chris, is this kind of the litmus test of this decision and what you have to give up and what you can keep signing with Zuffa? Jai Opetaia is one guy, IBF champion. He gives it up. To Paulie's point, his career goes great after this. It'll go, we don't need these guys.
Well, this is a precedent being set, but also it's one of those things where now if Opetaia becomes the first Zuffa champion, right now it's not going to matter that much, but it could really matter down the line. If this really takes off and becomes this new world order situation where the Zuffa belts actually do matter, he's down historically as being the first Zuffa champion, and he's a very, very prominent. He's a top tier world class fighter. Is Jai Opetaia. So it's not going to reveal itself to how important this move is. I think for some time.
How good
if it's important,
right?
Because
exactly.
Again, we've seen how the sanctioning bodies come in. There's sanctioning bodies.
That's what I said. It could be
sanctioning bodies that exist for decades.
It doesn't it doesn't matter a whole lot now, but it could later on.
There's sanctioning bodies that exist that still don't really matter. They've been around for decades, Even the initial WBO champions, nobody really thinks about it,
Yeah, that took a while to get established.
Riddick Bowe, I think, had a WBO title, right? Or Herbie Hyde back in the day.
Herbie Hyde, yeah. He was definitely WBO.
The original WBO champions, they weren't getting a lot of credibility, but then later on, the WBO became a big deal.
More came over here to the States because I think
it was becoming bigger because Frank Warren had a good relationship with them, But yeah,
and then Top Rank. You know what it was? Top Rank hooked up with WBO, and that's when they really took off.
Yeah, well, Top Rank with anybody, I think, will be a big help.
So Top Rank.
But we'll see. Well, if Zuffa has the same effect as Top Rank as far as legitimizing a certain belt.
What do you think about this, and whether or not it's a good idea for Zuffa in terms of Jai Opetaia, IBF champion, they're not signing the number 2 contender, the number 3 contender, the number 4 guy. If you're not under Zuffa's banner, Zuffa's not going to let you fight to defend your IBF, WBO, WBC, WBA title. They're just, if you're not a Zuffa fighter.
Glanton had to sign a Zuffa contract to get a shot, is what you're saying.
Right. From what I understand, if the methodology that we've seen, and there are people who've talked about the contracts at length, we're not going to do that here, but it's like the UFC. You're a UFC fighter, you're not. A UFC fighter can't, well, I'm going to defend my Strikeforce belt over in Strikeforce. No, you can't. You're a UFC guy.
In the beginning, they did. They went to Pride. They went to Pride for a little while.
In the very,
and then
very
they closed
beginning,
the doors.
Right, but also they weren't champions. Chuck Liddell was not a champion, went over, fought in Pride. All right. So even when the UFC not co-promoted, but sent fighters over to Pride, there was never the champion. It was never our guy versus your guy. Tito Ortiz at the time was champion, blah, 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 blah. So by the time Chuck became champion, UFC, you don't fight for anybody
You're
else.
not going anywhere else.
You're not hurting our brand going over there and getting your butt kicked, okay? Or whatever. Remember Rampage Jackson beat Chuck over there. So, and then
Rampage became a UFC guy too.
And then he went over and beat him on the UFC to win the title, right?
Yeah.
So it's a similar kind of thing here where if you're a Zuffa fighter, oh, I need to defend my WBC title. No, you don't. You are a Zuffa fighter. You're fighting for a Zuffa belt. But I need to. You just can't hold a title any more than you could hold.
Well, you're creating an alternate reality, so it's
right.
basically
It's its own league essentially. But it's this. I want to defend my Grey Cup in the NFL. No, you will not. You're playing other NFL teams. It's this idea where you're in a league essentially.
Yeah.
So, long term, Chris, it's all or nothing. Will we know if that's a good idea for a while?
It might.
Yeah, you got to play out.
We might
right?
find out sooner than you be. That could be the surprising part about it. Like you said, champ, this isn't really surprising, this move, but also all the concessions that have been made so far, the weight class, saying that he was going to be able to fight for those titles. Yet that's changed. It's all changing very, very quickly, and Zuffa's prominence in the world is growing. So it's going to be hard to tell how long it's going to take, but it might happen way faster than we think. Now I wonder about, like, you talk about getting other fighters in there, like Malignaggi, who's a champion as well. And we've been talking about trying to have those two guys fight. They did meet at the Apex. They had a face-off at the Apex, that Opetaia and Malignaggi.
So did he sign there?
And so that my question now becomes, do you, because you said this beautifully the other day, Jimmy, you've got this big shark that needs to eat in Opetaia. And you got to get him the proper chum.
Yeah, keep feeding him meat.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to scoop up these guys, and I don't know. I feel like if you're a cruiserweight right now, really, really nice time to make some good money because they're coming at you. To fight Opetaia.
You make a good point, Jim. They may be targeting the most vulnerable weight class because cruiserweight typically isn't the star-studded weight class typically, right? It's usually a crossover weight class,
way cheaper,
a stopover weight class. It's cheaper, and so if you corner the market in the cruiserweight division, basically anybody who's a good cruiserweight either has to drop to light heavyweight, move up to heavyweight, or sign with Zuffa. Right. If they're going to stay at cruiserweight. Yeah. And
there's another way to make money now as a cruiserweight, other than going to heavyweight.
Yeah, or you don't make money unless you go with them if you're going to stay at cruiserweight, unless you go to heavyweight. And some guys don't want to go to heavyweight too soon. Some guys want to establish themselves at cruiserweight first. Typically, that's for a smaller heavyweight. That's typically
some guys want to achieve their dreams of becoming WBC, WBO, IBF, WBA champion.
This is
that's another side of it.
This is interesting because the mainstream promoters don't promote a lot of cruiserweights that well either. So it's an opportunity for Zuffa to grab cruiserweights and actually promote them. And it's you know what, you can see the plan of attack because guys who become cruiserweight world champion, they're not typically promoted very much by the mainstream promoters. It's a stopover weight class. It's you become a champion, but they're not gonna invest in you like, oh, we can make this guy to the cruiserweight world champion. Whatever. Okay, he's a cruiserweight. Eventually something big will come along either in the heavyweight division or light heavyweight division or even at cruiserweight if something comes along.
Also, the U.S. has not had many cruiserweights.
Yeah. In general, it's like that. So for Zuffa to do it, maybe they want to corner the market in the cruiserweight division and start there.
I think it's very smart.
It's an easier weight class with which to corner the market,
and it's also better competitive wise than it has been in a number of years. This is a good cruiserweight division.
I don't know about that. Come on.
Yeah.
What kind of cruiserweight division you got? You got Jai, you got maybe Zurdo, but
William Smith is very, very tough. He's a
all
very good fighter.
But
Malignaggi's not bad. He just beat Badou Jack twice.
Bro, a few years ago we had Gassiev, Usyk, what was his name?
I'm not saying it's better than them, but this is not a bad cruiserweight era.
It's not. I don't know. I don't think it's that great either. Jai stands out to me though.
71% of our audience is a poll right now. 71% of our audience says that he should be stripped. That IBF's doing the right thing. They're sticking to their guns. Also, it's hard to believe that the other sanctioning bodies aren't going to follow suit and do the same thing. But what's the whole issue is if Zuffa says you're fighting for our belt, no one else. It is literally the MMA structure, which is you're not somebody else's champion while you're our champion. We never. And also when people come in,
and you're going to prevent fights from happening, and that's going to piss off fight fans.
But that's the issue too in
that's
MMA.
Piss off fight fans. Unless you can sign everybody,
Yes.
fights aren't going to happen, and then it's going to have the opposite effect on fight fans.
There's going to be growing pains.
71%.
There's going to be growing pains.
71% of fans are for the stripping. There's growing pains if you grow. There's you go out if you don't grow. You know, like they have money, they'll hang around. They have money to burn, as the Conor Benn situation shows. But if they spend it more wisely, they have an opportunity, I think, still to still continue to make a big push. But yeah, there's getting accepted by using this method. Maybe you have to adjust the method a little bit, you know, which happens as far as growth is concerned.
It's like I said the other day, it's a two-pronged approach. You know, I think they're saving a lot of money with the Apex fights and all those Zuffa boxing shows where they're collecting all the young talent for relatively low price tag. They've attacked the cruiserweight division, which is a lower price tag. Yeah, they threw a ton of money in the Benn situation, which was yet to see if that's going to be fruitful at all. I don't know how it really could be anytime soon. But no, it's a multi-pronged approach. You know, I think, again, I keep saying this. I think collecting all the guys who are on these Zuffa undercards, these Zuffa fights, not undercards, these Zuffa fights, I think that's really the long-term play. And then you're making these big sweeping motions. But also they're being smart. Again, attacking the cruiserweight division, cheaper than heavyweight. You know, getting a Jai Opetaia who may be price tag wise as such an elite fighter, good time to get him. So I do think they're being very smart about how they're approaching this whole thing, because listen, this is a business. There's a bottom line, and if you go back to the shareholders and you're like, all right, we lost a lot of money this year, next year, the year after, you know, what is their 4-year plan, 5-year plan? And I'm sure there is one. So you got to think they're thinking like a business.
Let's compare it a little bit. When you look at Conor Benn, when you look at, he's from a competitive weight class. He costs a lot of money. There are a lot of great fighters outside of Zuffa that hold the belts that he wants. He signed a 1-fight deal. So his idea of
whatever that means, I don't know what that means. I don't know. $15 million. How are you going to recoup that in one fight?
You're not.
You're not.
You simply won't. But also, Zuffa can't say, we're going to get all the guys in that weight class and give you all the competition you need. They can't do that. They can, but maybe a cruiserweight.
Ben also can't beat any of those guys. Opetaia beats the whole cruiserweight division.
Sure, yeah. Of course. But he can say, look, we can lure all those guys in, build you up. You can't say that at 47. You can't say that at 40. You can't say that at 35. Too many guys, too expensive. We can't have all those guys in-house, right? So that's the difference between those two situations. Where you have Jai Opetaia, yeah, maybe there's enough money. It wouldn't cost you that much to, as you guys are pointing out, corner the cruiserweight division. How much money would it cost to corner right now welterweight 140, 35?
And guys are on the contract.
But also, that's a really good point, Jimmy, because if you look at, you said a different reality. If you look at the two realities, right, which may not be the right word, maybe ecosystem, or we said playground or sandbox or whatever. You've got the Zuffa guys and you got the welterweight, you've got Conor Benn, who does make money. You know, we pulled Prograis, who's not a welterweight, and it's really not that viable right now. But then the problem is that the guys in the welterweight division can make money without Benn. Because you've got Haney, you've got Rollies, you've got Ryan.
Yeah.
Their ecosystem is flush. Very, very flush. There's a lot of money to be had.
Very good
and they could fight each other for years and make a lot of money together.
That the fans want to see as well.
That too. They're stars.
Yeah, the question is, can you pay boxing prices and corner a big weight class?
The problem with the welterweight division is, with Ben is too, God forbid you lower the structure just a little bit. You got to get a completely shot fighter like Prograis, because I'd say somebody like Tiger Johnson is affordable if he's not in the contract with Top Rank. But he'll beat the crap out of Ben. You know what I mean? Then what do you have? You know what I mean? Like, you also have to.
You got to be careful.
You got to be careful there too. You in terms of the way you would operate. But yeah, it's a 1-fight deal, champ. So we don't really know what the whole end game for that particular move is.
I don't know if I believe the 1-fight deal.
It might be a 1-fight with options.
So, I mean, Eddie did come out and say, like, you know, would you be open to negotiating again with Ben? And he said, yeah, you got to pick up the phone. But yeah, it's possible. So that is possible. So is this just a money grab for Team Ben? Are they going to go right back to what they were doing? That would be, I mean, brilliant on their part. But is Zuffa going to allow that?
How dumb would that be on Zuffa's part that have the options for
especially
a
because
deal with Prograis,
like
which is a
play,
winnable fight?
Especially because, like, for Zuffa, it seems like the play was a head-to-head with Eddie. And then you can allow him to come back? it's complicated.
Yeah,
It's a complicated, weird situation.
the book is not done being written on this particular chapter.
Not at all. But we're going to take a quick break. Why? You're going to have to go get whatever it is you drink. Light up some shot glasses. You have to fill them up because we're talking about Mario Barrios. So you know what fun drinking game we're going to play when we come back.
Saturday, March 21st, ProBox TV invades the NOS Event Center as Lester Martinez and Emmanuel Alim battle for the WBC World Super Middleweight title. Palmdale's Joshua Kevin Anton battles the Uzbeki Punisher. LA is in the house as Anthony Too Quick Cuba defends home turf against Brooklyn's Wesley Farrell, while Sam Contreras takes on Cesar Cantu.
I brought some of the drinks, just water. But here, I'm taking the top off. Okay, we're going to talk about Mario Barrios, who has said he's taken some time off before going up to 154 pounds. So what do you think of Barrios? Paulie, what do you think of him?
I mean, listen.
What,
Let the man breathe.
Whoa!
Well,
Who
okay,
are you
guys,
and what have you done with Paulie Malignaggi?
guys?
Did
He still sucks.
Okay, all right, hold on.
But
Our listeners have been hung over for 2 months because of this guy.
Let the guy take some time
First,
off.
Barrios sucks shot. Okay.
Some time off. 154 though. Shoot,
Dude,
man.
First thing I thought
Where you
is
going?
that's like I'm taking time off and then we're gonna go. I don't know, hunt lions with a spear or something. Like that's not. I'm gonna take time off. Then I'm gonna do the most dangerous thing. I'm gonna go skydiving without a parachute. 154. We have said it a million times.
And he's gonna be food at 154. Everybody's gonna be.
Hey, guess what? He's gonna make a lot of money. They're gonna pay him.
Well,
This kid has made so
154
much money.
154 is dangerous without a lot of money there. That's where you going? It's not like stars at 154. There's dangerous on top of dangerous on top of dangerous.
So good. We'll go over the rankings in a minute,
But I mean, from what you say about Mario, how much does he really have left? He's done a lot. He's been in a
so
lot of weight
anything
classes.
is a bonus for him, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's done a lot. He's multiple division world champion.
Yeah.
He's had big payday fights. He's fought a legend. He got to fight Manny Pacquiao. And so yeah.
The BA title he
What are you
had at
looking
40
for at
was
this
it the
point?
main title?
That's a good question.
So because if it wasn't, then he was not. He's not a multiple division world champion.
Look it up right now. But would this the thing you're thinking about Barrios is you've always said it, 6 feet tall, big dude, physically. Before we get into the talent level, physically, Chris, does he have the tools at 154 pounds?
The issue, and this is if you are a backer of Barrios, and you are looking at a way to extend his career, you blame the weight. Because there was reports that he was sick fight week. And listen, if you're cutting weight and you cut weight wrongly, you get sick. So he is big for even welterweight. I don't know how he fought in those lighter weight classes. He's always been 6 feet tall.
Was he sick the week of the Pacquiao fight too?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying if you're a backer of him because he was so flat against Ryan and he just didn't look good at all and made Ryan look like a wizard. But if you're a backer of him, you go, you know what? He was struggling to make the weight. He had outgrown the weight class. He got sick that night. Does he win? Does he beat Ryan ever? Probably not. But maybe he has a resurgence at 54.
Now
where
he
he's not
doesn't beat
struggling.
Ryan ever. Who picked Ryan? Who picked Barrios to win before the fight?
I did it because of you, dude. I had to argue with you. I had to argue with
Spirit
you.
of contradiction.
Yes.
You see this guy?
This is a TV show. This is fun.
He's an instigator.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody's got to get you guys at home. You love when this guy throws a rant. I pick a rant now. Now I'm the enemy. All right.
The rants have to be organic.
Not in my case. I can start a fight. I can start a fight real easy.
And the talent level at 54, we say it all the time, Paulie, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide at 54. Even there are top 15 guys that are coming up.
And they're young,
at this
too.
point, nobody's going to invest in Barrios as an A side, so he's going to be a high level B side, which will give you opportunities. You're next champion. You're a resume filler.
You get overpaid to be that though,
dude. Yeah, you can, but against stars, I don't know how many stars 154 has. And 154 has a landmine of excellent fighters, but I don't know how many stars there are. Where are we gonna go? Is he still with PBC? He's with PBC fighter, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So he can maybe fight the winner of Spence and Zoo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming off what? 2 draws and a loss. We're gonna sell that as a pay-per-view. I mean, like PBC doesn't have the audacity to make that a pay-per-view anyway.
He could probably get the loser of Fundora and Thurman.
The loser of Fundora and Thurman.
Because you got two guys coming off of a loss.
Speaking of, and would they have the audacity to make that into a pay-per-view headline? But the loser for Thorndor and Thurman, it could be a rematch with Thurman. Where are you going?
Yeah.
Making that again?
But he'll go, but at 47, I was struggling. Now we're at 54, we're in a weight class where I'm more comfortable.
Look, you believe that?
I'm telling you, I'm putting my promoter hat on. How do we make the fight?
WBO, let me just say WBO, because they're listed by belt. WBO, Champ Xander Zayas. Brandon Adams is number 1. Rashid Ellis is number 2. Israel Madrimov number 3. Bakri Samake is number 4. Abbas Barao is number 5. Bakram Murtaza Aliyev is number 6.
Yikes.
Giovanni Santillan is number 7.
Giovanni Santillan is a 54
WBO.
now?
Yeah, I'm reading off their rankings. Adrian Sasso at 8. Nikita Zhu at 9. Milan Prad at 10. Now, you always say all the time, there are names that you don't know that well, Chris, that are bad boys.
Yes,
every single one of them.
The top 7 of that are killers.
Yeah.
Top 7 are killers. But what about a guy like
even Nikita Zhu beats him.
But, I mean, it's a more viable fight than him fighting those other 6
He's going to
guys.
become a prospect opponent now? Nikita's still a prospect.
Francisco Verón, number 8 for
He
the
loses that fight, too.
WBC's, fought on
I
our
mean, come on, guys. I know I say
That's
he sucks.
number 8.
I know I say he sucks, but it's also not fair. They got to just throw him in like a trash and just get him beat up by everybody too. We got if you're a backer of Barrios, like you're saying,
look at this compassionate Paulie
Exactly
Malignaggi,
what I
by the
said.
way.
If you're a backer of Barrios,
that's what I mean. That's why I'm using your point.
The Zeus
Where do you
Spence,
put? Where do you put? But Zeus Spence is you're making a mockery of the situation. You're just spitting in boxing fans' faces.
You're
Can't
acting
put
like,
him in the.
acting like that's not what boxing does to its fans.
Doesn't matter. I don't like to do that. In my imaginary
winner of that
world,
fight?
I know. No.
No.
How do you put him in with the winner of that fight? He just
That's
lost every
insane.
round to Ryan.
Yes.
You gotta get him a rebuild fight. What's a rebuild fight where he can actually win? Because even the rebuild fight, you got to find the right guy. Because he could get beat in a rebuild fight.
Dude, on our air, Francisco Verón has looked amazing.
He'll get beat by Verón.
He'll get
beat by Abbas Barao.
Verón's a nightmare.
Bro, I don't know.
And that's not a name
You
a
know
lot
what
of
we
people
do?
know.
Put him in an undercard against Erickson Luben.
Don't hate that.
Okay,
rebuild.
Both guys that need a rebuild.
Both guys need a rebuild. It's names.
And I would imagine, because this is how contracts go, they often have clauses if you catch a loss, you get a rebuild, and then you get into possibly another big fight. Barrios' name isn't well known enough because of the high-profile fights that he's been in. Maybe he gets a rebuild. Maybe it is a guy like
TV
Luben.
undercard. PV pay-per-view.
Yeah, no, you're not
undercard.
making that a main event, especially because how Luben performed against Virgil. You're not going to be able to put him back in a very big fight.
Luben versus Mario Barrios. 154.
I like it.
Rebuild.
I like it.
See, now we're
There you go.
You make a little
now
bit
you're
of sense
talking.
now.
Now you're talking.
We're talking about rankings to get this guy. Get this guy
I like
put
you,
into
you're
the.
softening up on Barrios.
I
I'm
don't
not
know, I like
softening
that.
up. I still think he sucks.
I still
but
have so
he's
much
still-
water.
He's still a human being. You know what I mean? Like you got to still, treat it in the right situation. Even from a business perspective, what makes sense to where it remains interesting. Barrios Luben is an interesting fight because based on the point where they are in their careers, based on the fact that they were viable fighters at one time, maybe
Is it
the winner
loser leaves town?
Absolutely.
Old school pro wrestling.
Come on.
Loser
Yeah.
leaves town. Yeah,
Absolutely.
On the territory
It's about
days.
as much loser leaves town as you can do at this point. The bags are already packed. Actually, ready for the loser to leave. Like you don't even. It's not like the loser leaves town.
It's not even a flight; it's a bus ticket.
Yeah. So this is.
Got your Uber outside.
But there's a cool little storyline there, because both guys were top guys. So.
Who is the harder sell? Because obviously coming off a loss, when you look at Barrios style-wise, right? Is Barrios style-wise a harder sell? Because when he does lose, he doesn't throw a lot of punches. He doesn't change the gears. Erickson Luben went out on a shield against Ortiz. Got knocked out.
Luben didn't really go out on a shield because he just went to the ropes and got stopped right away. So
But my point
it's
is,
a hard
we only
sell.
had-
But I tell you what, if there's ever,
get what I'm saying. What's the hardest sell?
a rebuild opponent that you can rebuild, because the way Luben looked, he was like, there's no way you can rebuild this fight. He didn't look like he wanted to fight against Virgil. He just went right to ropes and just got stopped quickly. But if there's ever an opportunity where you could see Luben actually rebuilding and winning, Mario Barrios sucks. So therefore, Luben actually could win that fight. And I probably would favor him to win that fight, no matter how shot he looked against Ortiz.
So
that's my tip.
Is it easier?
But I want to see it because, they're both kind of shot. So, but they're both named guys. So as long as you don't make it a main event and spit in my face, there's an interesting undercard play there for a big card.
We love we know we love our movie quotes here.
The boss Gary could be making it happen.
Could be doing it.
You know,
right?
we got
Gary
Luben
Jonas
here.
could be getting it
This
done.
show
People are
makes
getting it
waves and deals get done. So.
Yes. Those are power brokers that we are. But we love our movie quotes, right? Remember Unforgiven? Great Western,
great
right? With Clint Eastwood. This guy had one arm, and he's loading all these guns. He goes, why are you loading 6 guns? You only have one arm. And he goes, I ain't getting killed for lack of shooting back. Now, one of the things I always tell fighters, don't get killed for lack of shooting back. Because number one, you'll go out knowing you had bullets in your gun, right? Number two is, it's hard to market a guy who just got flat because he didn't throw much.
Both of these guys would be guilty of that because even Barrios.
That's what I mean.
Enough.
But with Barrios, we sat through 12 rounds of Goosen going, do this, do that, and seeing the same.
And 12 rounds before that with Bob Santos doing the same thing.
24
Bob Santos doing the same thing.
That was
sure.
the same thing.
But what the point of what I'm saying is, it's always harder for me as a fan. You guys were professional boxers. I was not. As a fan on the outside, I was a professional fighter. On the outside going, this guy's just not making the adjustments like he wants to
Barrios,
do it. Like he wants to go out and do something. Is it hard to rehabilitate?
But you feel like with Barrios, the capabilities would be there. He's got all the physical tools. He doesn't need a trainer. He needs a psychiatrist. You know what I mean? Like this guy's got to convince. You got to convince this guy somehow because he's been in with some of the world's best trainers, Santos, Goosen. He doesn't listen to anybody.
And looks the same.
So yeah, this guy needs a psychiatrist. He doesn't need a trainer.
But isn't that harder to sell me as a fan? A guy who's mentally, I don't know if he wants to do this anymore. He's not throwing punches. He's not doing this, not doing that. It's harder for me to sell Erickson Luben.
He's durable, and Luben is, he's not so durable, but he may still, be able to let his hands fly better than Barrios. Bro, you know what? I want to find out. I think it's a good undercard fight. I think it's a TV undercard fight on a really good main event card.
Is it a ProBox TV fight for
Nope.
I don't know, man. We would have to up the ante, because both of those guys, you're gonna need a little bit of a higher budget.
It's
if we splurge a little bit, maybe
it's in our tagline. We like fighters that throw punches.
Yeah, but we need a.
Runners, holders, low volume fighters are not allowed.
But against one another, these guys, sometimes guys are shot enough where they'll fight one another. They'll make a fun fight against one another because they're shot enough.
What was it? Jared Hurd.
We had Hurd and
Rosario
and Jason Rosario. Yeah.
It actually made for a decent scrap.
Also on ProBox, yeah.
Yep.
But after that, that's as good as it's going to get at 154 pounds for even a victorious Barrios over Erickson Luben. I mean, as you guys said, the build-up fight's the only one you can think of. 154 is absolute murders. We're going over the rankings later on in the show. It's just killers. No matter where you look, every title, every champion, the losers of these fights are incredibly tough.
He's gonna be between a rock and a hard place because it seems like 47 is not, his body's not, doesn't want to do it anymore. And because listen, if he can still make 47, there's so much money to be made at 47. All these big fights, you get a rebuild fight at 47, you end up maybe fighting one of those top other guys who need an opponent. Like they might look at it as an easy pickings with a guy who's been in profile fights. If he's going to 54, he has to because it's murderer's row. So, I don't know. If they're trying to rebuild the kid, trying to get him another big payday, you never know where guys are at in terms of their life. And he's only 30, but he's had a long career. And he's had some tough fights. So
he sucks.
You don't know how much there is left in the tank.
Almost done with my water because the Barrio sucks every single time.
Guy's going to die of hyponatremia over here.
That's not going to be enough. Fortunately, I know what that is. Thank you.
I don't, but now I assume I know what it is.
Water poisoning.
Water poisoning essentially dissolves the salts in your body. Anyway, moving on to a different weight class that is obviously very, very stacked. We just talked about it with the Lamont Roach fight. The WBA, is ordering Floyd Schofield versus Lucas Bahdi for the vacant 135-pound title. Yeah, I like that. 135 getting juicy, getting real hot. Chris, what's your thought on this fight?
Paulie, you take this one first. I know you're familiar with Lucas, so that's...
Yeah, Lucas is a big puncher. Has trouble with guys with quick feet, though. Schofield, you'd probably favor him, but it's a dangerous fight because Bahdi, with his big punching power, he's able to catch Ashton Silva, who was a very good boxer and a very good style. And
Silva's way ahead in that fight. Was
way ahead in that fight, yeah, because Bahdi's never really out of a fight because he punches so hard. And with Schofield, he has the ability to make Bahdi look bad, but Bahdi doesn't go anywhere.
Schofield got hurt in the Tejas fight.
Yeah.
Got hurt late in the Tejas fight.
Yeah. Interesting fight. Yeah, I think you favor Schofield, but Bahdi's always live with that punching power and his chin. He doesn't go anywhere. He's live in there.
Happy to see Bahdi get a title shot, get that opportunity, because I think he's one of those guys who's been at it for a while. He's got a great record. He's kind of jumped different promotions to try and find his opportunity. Always, absolutely. And but also, you don't want to see a guy like that stay a contender for too long and get stale. And then by the time they get their shot, it's too late. Yeah. I think he's still very viable. It's just tough because Schofield is.
Yeah, and Schofield's he's in his moment too. You know, coming off the big stoppage of Farmer as well. You know, he's moving in the right direction and he's looking better.
Do we have a date on that, Jimmy? Did you say?
Say it again.
A date on that fight? Was there?
They do not have a date. It's just been ordered because same as Lamont Roach. They've ordered them to put together. Obviously, details.
A lot of lightweight title fights being ordered. I like it.
Yeah. And 135 is looking really good. Of course, Lucas Bahdi 20-0. You know about his ability.
Yeah, we were talking about the lightweights. We forgot about Bahdi now. You know, bring him into the conversation as well. He's a guy who can also make things fun in that weight class.
And Schofield, very dynamic, very interesting. In a year or so, 135, these names coming together are looking really, really fantastic.
They're all young too, Jimmy.
Oh, I was about to say the youth, the explosiveness, Bahdi a little bit older, 32 years old, but that ability of everybody at 35, man, 54, 35, looking absolutely fantastic. And Lamont Roach having his opportunity. Obviously, we talked recently about that fight. A lot of great boxers with different styles, Chris. It's a lot of fun matchups.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of 126 because you got a lot of different styles and body types and all really good high-level fighters in the top 6, 7. 35 is like that. They're also young. And with the comparison to 54, the difference is these lightweights are going to fight each other. 54, you see a lot of planets orbiting around each other that just aren't making the fights happen, mostly because of the powers that be and the people that are around them. But 35, there's not enough star power for any single guy to make sure to keep them away or have their own orbit. They can kind of keep guys out. So these guys all have to fight in order to make each other's names. Right. And so I think we're going to get a lot of guys fighting each other, and we're going to get a lot of guys losing O's soon.
Abdullah Mason's your chance at WBO. Is your champ at WBO. IBF, Raymond Morataya. WC is Jade Herrera. And then WBA was Gervonta Davis. Of course, he's
WBC got ordered with
Roach and
Zapeda. Roach and Zapeda, yep.
Yeah. But you named 2 guys that were undefeated, or was it 3? Who's
Bahdi's undefeated?
No, the champions.
Abdullah Mason.
Abdullah and Morataya both undefeated.
Morataya is not lasting long. He's going to go 140 soon.
He's going to be 140.
Yeah, he's going to 140 soon.
Who do you think is the guy right now, 135 pounds? Do you think it is Morataya? He looked absolutely fantastic
right now
last time out.
Yeah, but also non-champions like Andy Cruz, Noakes, Bahdi, Schofield. Obviously, they're going to fight for it. But yeah, there's some good fighters in the lightweight division.
Who would you favor right now early on? Of course, Schofield versus Bahdi. You know about the punching power, but Schofield, dynamic, great boxer. Who would you favor in this one, Chris?
Like Champ said, I would go with Schofield based on his boxing ability and the fact that he can punch as well. It's not just puncher versus boxer in this scenario because Schofield can punch. And I think he's been progressing quite well, getting more mature. He is very young. I think he probably learned a lot from that Tejas fight, a guy who's been fought on IR many times. Yep. He dominated that fight and then got hurt at the end. So he's learned that in 12-round fights, you got to stay locked in the entire time, which he's going to need for Bahdi. But I would lean towards Schofield, but you got to always count a puncher in.
I think that Bahdi takes a really good shot, so I think that's part of what makes him dangerous. I don't think he's going anywhere. I do favor Schofield in the fight because Bahdi has trouble with movement or guys who change distances and whatnot, and he has a hard time himself closing the gap. But he's alive all the time, being the fact that he can punch and the fact that he's likely not going anywhere. Yeah, Schofield can punch a little bit. Bahdi takes a good punch. Bahdi holds position very well, so he can throw back at you and surprise you and shock you. But Schofield's been moved in a way where this is his moment. He's been bred, built up to now win the title at this point in his career. So you probably favor Schofield, but Bahdi's punching power is scary, man. I'm telling you. And it's not just the kind of punching power that changes the fight and ends it. It's the kind of punching power that changes the fight and makes you doubt yourself. If he lands a good shot and maybe doesn't get Schofield out of there, but now Schofield's like, man, this guy hits hard. Does Schofield second guess himself?
Yeah, when they say one punch can change a fight, doesn't mean you get knocked out necessarily.
Yeah, it creates that self-doubt, and then you start hesitating a little bit, and maybe Bahdi can close the gap. There's a lot of variables here. You favor Schofield, but there's a lot of variables in this. Bahdi had, without a doubt, the knockout of the year when he knocked out Silva. I think they ended up giving it to when he knocked out Joshua. The knockout of Ashton Silva is light years ahead of that knockout. The knockout
was
of
technical. It was
Scary.
Bahdi
Knocking out Ashton Silva. If you didn't see it looking on YouTube, it is the knockout possibly of the decade. I mean, so the fact they didn't give him the knockout of the year, but they gave it to Dubois knocking out Joshua, to me was ridiculous. But it goes to show you, it's just an example of just how powerful Bahdi's punching power is, and Silva was a very good fighter who still who I still haven't really seen back on the scene since then, and he was streaking. That was a good prospect.
Well, you can't talk about 135 without talking about the elephants in the room. Easiest one to talk about, Gervonta Davis stripped his title 135 pounds. That's the one that will be filled by this fight. Ever see him again boxing, period, Chris? What's your guess?
See my hands up?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's all about his out-of-ring issues.
I can't help but think about, he did an interview at this point, it's probably 18 months ago, maybe even 2 years ago at this point, where he started really questioning his future in the sport and wanting to he's like, I don't want to go see a psychologist because I don't want to start thinking about things. I want to think of my family. Those kind of things can make you, once that seed gets in your head, you're less and less willing to go out on your shield, and because listen, the sport is dangerous, and if you're not in it 100%, it's even more dangerous. So I don't know. I think about that psychologically if he really wants to return. Also, the fact that instead of doing the Lamont rematch, which everyone was calling for, which would have been a good fight, he chose to go grab the money and try and fight someone, 230-pound former YouTuber and Jake Paul. So just psychologically, I think physically, absolutely, he's in his prime. He's 31 years old. Listen, he can punch no matter what. I don't care what you want to say about him. The kid can punch, and he's a finisher. So there's always going to be a draw. But in terms of whether he wants to do it, it's entirely up here, and I can't speak on a man's brain.
Paulie, he's right. It's a very dangerous sport. You want to be committed to it full throttle if you're going to go in the ring and fight, because being half mentally checked out and going in the ring is always a danger. But you know what? Fortunately for Gervonta Davis, danger and his career never go hand in hand. He's always looking for the easiest cupcake to fight. So thankfully, if Gervonta Davis is going to fight, we don't have to worry about that danger, even if he's halfway checked out, because he's never going to go anywhere near any of the top lightweights, just like he never went anywhere near the 130-pounders when he was in a stack weight class as a champion, and the 135 as well. So, yeah, all those things are certainly food for thought that the champ brings out about you want to be focused if you're going to fight, this and that. But you know what? We never have to worry about Gervonta Davis' safety, thankfully, because he'll fight the next Uber driver like this if he really has to, and if he really wants to fight again. So the interest of Gervonta Davis fighting, sure. But the interest of Gervonta Davis taking on a dangerous opponent, absolutely not.
But how many? How many chances do you get?
I'll bet you all kinds of farmland. He never goes near a top guy.
But again, how many chances do you get to be able to make? Because listen, he got rewarded handsomely for fighting guys that were not that dangerous, and then he was a big
that's what I'm saying. So he'll
but are you going to get that again? Is that how many chances do you get?
You know what? The one thing about fighter having a popular fighter leaving for a while is the curiosity of him returning. I think you can be paid handsomely just returning. There's always a curiosity. You've built up this product. This product has been built. Gervonta's been promoted. He's been pushed. So now he's the product. So you have this product that's been built, and if it's missing for a while, people are curious about the product. So no matter what, he's gonna. I think he's got an opportunity. He'll still.
So you're saying absence makes the heart grow fonder, even for us fighters.
Look at what Mike Tyson. I mean, people wanted to see him fight. He's 60. I get it, but it's a lot of guys. Mayweather, Pacquiao. It's the same thing.
You're naming guys at such a ridiculous high level.
You know what? We're in a generation where even Gervonta Davis fighting cab driver after cab driver, they've somehow made him into a star, because you have so much technology now that continues to push people in your face. So Davis does that, and like you said, champ, he still can punch. He's a genuine finisher. He's a genuine puncher. You can't take that away from him. You put him in against a deer in headlights, he'll finish him off, knock him out, and Davis explosive highlights again. Put it on YouTube. Put it on Instagram. Sell it as he knocked out King Kong when he knocked out the insect on the floor, and you got the product selling all over again, and keep repeating it, put it in people's faces, and you got that. If he wants to, he can do that, because that's how he was built to begin with. So, does he want to? I don't know. For me, it's a bit of a pet peeve, especially with the way my career went and the way your career went. As far as we fought tough fighters, we took pride in fighting tough fighters at their peak. not just tough fighters, at their peak. Well, sometimes we didn't have a choice. You know, they were at their peak and we weren't at our peak, either too soon or too late, right? This guy has been fighting not even top fighters most of the time, not at their peak when he did fight them most of the time. And then he talks like he's accomplished Mayweather career. Like, I don't know if I want this anymore. It's like you feel like you're listening to a guy who's done it all and been there, and I'm like, wow, it's like he did so much. It's amazing. He's just tired of it. He beat 30 Uber drivers, and then he's talking like he had Muhammad Ali's career. That's my issue. Like, buddy, go. If you're gonna retire, go retire. You know, it's like, all right. You know, that's my issue with that conversation you brought up. Like, I don't know if I got it. You know, I don't want to fight.
Yeah, but that can happen to anyone.
They paid you millions.
That can happen to anyone at any
to
time.
fight the production crew. All right, come on, dude.
But the thing is, once you start feeling vulnerable in this sport, it's dangerous.
But it's okay because he's never going to take on a guy who's going to be dangerous anyway.
Dude, he fought Frank Martin. He fought Frank Martin when Frank Martin was an issue. That was a really good win.
Martin, you just saw what he looked like again. Frank Martin was never going to be world champion. All right, but Frank is a good solid fighter.
That was a good win.
He's good. It's good, solid fighters. I'm not telling you. Listen, you're selling him as a world champion. You can't put him in complete Uber drivers. But you're still making it in a way where you're balancing it out. He fought Santa Cruz, who started out as a bantamweight, and he knocked him out at 130. The guy was nowhere near at 130, and by that point, he's shot to begin with. You know, you're selling names. That's probably the biggest name on his record, mind you.
Pedraza.
Pedraza was a good win, but we've talked about that Pedraza win with the guy being shot at the weight, and he had already lost that Necheri prior to that, and they robbed the Necheri, let Pedraza keep his title. Either way, the bottom line is this: he still has the ability. He always had the ability. He can punch.
He knocked out Ryan.
He's got the fin. He knocked out Ryan. He knocked out a lot of guys, but were those guys worth their weight though? That's my problem.
You know, drivers.
No, you know you got.
I'm fighting for the opponents.
I'm
defending the guys that you're saying are Uber drivers.
If I'm defending your position, you know what I'm going to say? He knocked out Rolly. Rolly's a world champion. Yeah. That's a good win.
Well, Ryan's a world champion too. Ryan's a world champion right now.
Ryan
Garcia.
Oh, Ryan Garcia. Yeah, but Ryan was the hydration clause.
You
give me the hydration clause at 135. You give me a hydration clause at 135. Don't tell me that.
I am going to tell you that.
No. Rolly's a good win.
Hey, you know what else he knocked out?
Rolly's a really good win.
Get your shot glass ready. You know what else he knocked out?
Mario
Barrios.
But I'm done.
At 140.
I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done.